So, a top tip for growing your B2B, B2G business, pre-mortems. So, some of our competitors talk about this stuff. We frame it slightly differently, as I'll talk you through, but fundamentally, we should know what deals we're going to be bidding a year away from tender if we end up in a competitive tender. Ideally, we should be striving to negotiate or get direct awards or award without competition. It's called under the new Procurement Act if you're doing public sector stuff. But worst case, if we're going to end up in a competitive procurement, we should try and figure out why we wouldn't win that deal if it came out today, and then use a year head start to fill in those gaps. So I'll just show you something. Let me talk you through it. So the general best practices, the APMP body of knowledge stuff, for instance, talks you through, the concept of a pre-mortem, where in effect you grab a Teams call or a meeting or a coffee with a group of stakeholders, people that are going to be involved in winning a deal, and just ask yourself sensibly, if this tender came out today, why would we lose it? And it's quite a cathartic, useful conversation to have. It allows you to really think through what are our gaps and how are we going to fill those gaps. If we don't have the technology platform, let's go and get it. If we don't have a strong enough supply chain, let's go and fill those gaps and try and get them exclusively with us. If we don't have the right contract lead or project director, let's go and recruit one, because we're in the capture space here. We're quite far out from tender. We can do stuff about it. In our model, we amp it up a bit actually. And so if you've got a bid no bid form, a qualification form, perhaps using the SCOTSMAN model that you can Google for qualification, when the bid comes out here at the end of position, the start of proposal tender in our world, well, our view is you might as well fill that form out all the way back here at decision to pursue. So, you've got a business plan that's hopefully market research that tells you where to fish for what with who. You've been doing some marketing that's aligned to that, maybe some key account management. Ideally, certainly for your top 3 to 5 tenders that are more than a year away from tender, ideally 18 months, we advise you to actually fill in that bid no bid form and call it a decision to pursue. And a number of our clients now do this very successfully. So it amps up the pre-mortem, why would we lose the bid question, by giving us actual data to look at. So fill in your bid no bid form and 18 months out, a year out from tender. And what you'll find is it scores quite low. But it means that you can data wise see the gaps that you've got to close in order for it to pass that bid no bid test when the bid's released. And it changes the conversation. The conversation becomes much more insightful, because if you do it at this point and fill in those gaps, when you get to the bid coming out at this point, the conversation isn't so much about whether you should bid it or not. It's about, did you close those gaps? Did you take that action on those key deals at least? And have we successfully done that, influence the client, etc., etc. So we change that dynamic. It's a bit more useful. It's a bit more of a directed conversation, and it gives us some data that we can mine in terms of if we are closing those gaps as a business effectively, so we can look at performance and improvements and training for people as appropriate. So absolutely do pre-mortems, but if I were you, I'd fill in your bid no bid form a year before tender. That will give you some really interesting insight and actions to go and execute on over the next year through capture, co-solutioning with the client, etc. You'll be much more successful. Very best of luck.